Good afternoon.
No, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing well. I can't hear your voice properly.
Hmm. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah.
I can hear. Yeah. Am I audible clearly to you?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. I can see you clearly.
How's your day going so far?
Not bad, a little lazy, but yeah, going well for now. What about you?
Likewise, I'm having a lazy day as well. Not accomplished anything today. So this is the first session of the day. We are on the
Mm-hmm.
same page. Yeah.
Lovely. So, my name is Divyam. Welcome to your Club session. Have you been taking sessions lately?
No, actually, this is a promotion for my channel. So I'm not taking sessions. I'm clapping.
Awesome. So, this is your first session, right?
Second, first was last week, and this is the second.
Lovely. Okay. So, what would you like to talk about today?
Today, I have a few questions of my audience. So, I would love for you to share your knowledge, expertise, what you feel about it, so that people can get benefit out of it. So, we'll get to the questions straight away.
Yeah, I would love that.
So, first is the beginner level questions. Um, so, we say, though you do, if you don't find a partner to practice English speaking, just practice by yourself. But then the main question is, how are you going to get feedback, and how are you going to correct your mistakes, and how you take it from there? So I want you to tell, if a person is practicing alone, so what would be the strategies, how they can improve by themselves, especially their grammatical errors.
Right. So, this is this answer has to be taken with a grain of salt, I would say, because a lot of people have different levels of problems when they start focusing on improving, right? So someone might have an issue with pronunciation, someone might have an issue with sentence formation, vocabulary, confidence, right? And somebody might have an issue with all of them, all of those things. So when you are practicing alone, it is very important that yes, when you're practicing, you should get feedback. And when you're practicing alone, that doesn't really happen, right? So at Clap and Go, whenever we take a trial session, we inform the learners if the issue can be solved with this exercise. We tell them that instead of practicing in a mirror, I would want you to record a video of yourself talking about something. Okay. What you can do is you can look back at the video, you can show the video to someone you know. So, you know what the pace has been like, you know what words you're using. It's always good to know in hindsight what you would have done differently, right? So in hindsight, they might look at the video and say, oh, why didn't I use this advanced vocabulary word when I was explaining the story? Or why didn't I explain it in a more summarized manner? How I was beating around the bush and I wasn't getting to the point in the story. I could have saved some
Mm.
time. So even though it is not feedback from someone else, it is a way of analyzing your own sort of progress, right?
Right.
And if you do this consistently for about 6 months, right, you also have a record of how you have been speaking. So obviously, the first recording ever and the latest recording, like 6 months later, will have a huge difference. Even though the topics may be different, but the person will know that I am getting much better. I am getting much more confident. I've been thinking really quickly off the bat if some new topic comes to me. I've been speaking more confidently. I've been speaking in a more calm manner, in a more confident manner, right?
Mm.
Being more presentable. So I think these are some exercises in terms of video recording we recommend a lot on the platform. Otherwise, if you have to practice alone, I personally recommend that you watch shows, but then you repeat the dialogues along with them. You copy them. Okay. Now, this is not a practice in pronunciation or accent. This is a practice in confidence and for you to get that um to break it in basically, like how you're going to talk out loud, how you're going to use your volume to express what you're trying to say, right? And obviously, your vocabulary will improve. You'll understand idioms and phrases, how they're supposed to be used in particular situations, right? So, it's a slow sort of exercise, but it is something that a lot of learners need at that moment because they have the book knowledge, but they don't have the experience and they don't know how to implement certain vocabulary words or phrases or conversational cues, even if it is body language or sarcasm, right? It's
Mm.
something like this is something that really helps them get the grasp of it very naturally because they are seeing someone else do it in person.
Excellent, right? You told that recording is better than mirror practice, right? So, what do you have to say about mirror practice? Should people do it or no? And in which scenarios is it going to be beneficial?
I'm not saying it's not beneficial, right? So it's, see, think of it as an issue that you're facing, let's say medically, right? There are always going to be 10 different types of medications, but the doctor gives you a specific one because in that particular instance, that is what's going to help you the quickest and
Yeah.
in the most efficient manner, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
mirror practice is something that is mostly used by people who present publicly,
Okay.
public speaking coaches because
Mm.
they want to see their body like open up and yes, today I'm going to talk to you about, so this is where the advantages of mirror speaking are, right? For someone who's timid, someone who's shy, they don't know what they're going to say, they might feel underconfident about their performance. Mirror practice might even discourage them. They're very small chances, but I'm just saying it doesn't really help you, right? Think about speaking like alone as a challenge. And obviously, when you're recording videos, you're learning other things as well. Again, we're not just here to learn a language, we're here to improve our skills, whether it's language, problem solving, critical thinking, even presentation, body language, confidence. So it's not just about speaking in English, right? So when you're recording videos, you will eventually figure out, okay, the lighting is not that good here. You will eventually figure out how framing works. You will eventually figure out how you need to move a little bit in the camera. You can't just, for 3 minutes, you can't just sit like this and talk, right? So that is where the confidence builds up. Whereas in a mirror practice, again, I'm not saying it's bad, but in most situations that we have encountered, we thought that the recording part was much more beneficial, even for the basic intermediate or beginner or intermediate learner, I mean. So yes, mirror practice might work, but again, this is exactly why Clapping Go does one-on-one sessions because we can personalize the feedback or exercises that we recommend to you. So if we feel that a person is, let's say at your level, right? You come to us and say, sometimes when I'm speaking in front of like 300 people, I start stuttering, I start feeling nervous. That is when we'll recommend maybe a mirror, exercise to you saying, stand in front of like a full body mirror and see when you're presenting it, how your body reacts to certain things, right?
Mm.
So it is very circumstantial. Both are good exercises, but we personally believe that the video recording thing is much more beneficial in the long term.
Wonderful. The second thing I wanted to talk about is about MTI and pronunciation. Would you mind shedding some light on? There are two different things, right? Yes, MTI also comes under pronunciation, but they're not exactly the same. So I would love
Yeah,
for you to tell what is the difference, and then we'll go ahead discussing how to overcome the problems.
right. So pronunciation, see, in India, there's a very big taboo about accents. Okay.
Right.
The more foreign your accent seems, the more educated or like better you look. But I think that's something that needs to be sort of, we need to get rid of that concept.
Mm.
Um, it's all about how you communicate, what you say, how you make the other person feel when you're sharing a story, when you're sharing news, whether it's good or bad, right? In terms of pronunciation, um, now even Google and a lot of other institutes are recognizing that Indian pronunciation is also in
Right.
itself,
Yes.
an independent accent, which I think is good because I think India has, in terms of English speaking countries in the world, India is, I think, the highest, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe depending on the
more than,
population.
yeah, more than America, more than England. So yeah, in India, and I think Mumbai is the city with the most English speakers, if I'm not wrong, in the world. So I mean, we are getting there on in the numbers. So obviously, when that happens, we've had a lot of growth over the years, and we've had a lot of improvements in quality and whatnot. So
Right.
I personally feel whenever a learner comes to me and says, I want to speak in a British accent, I want to speak in American accent, so that people at my in my office feel like I am learning something or I'm more experienced in terms of my travels or whatever. And I keep telling them, listen, accents, which kind of correlates with pronunciation, right? Accents are like the paint on your car, whereas the
Mm,
grammar and the delivery is like the engine and the tires. If you focus more on the aesthetics than the
mm,
functioning of the car, then you will break down, right? Focus on the foundations first. Once you're done with that, then you can
mm.
paint the color however you can paint the car however you want, right?
Right, right.
So focus on pronunciations. There are very good tools out there that will help you understand how certain words are supposed to be said, right? We can use ChatGPT, we can use Google. Google has this feature that when you search for a definition, they have a small speaker button next to it. Just
Mm,
click on it and it'll tell you. You can even pick which accent you want to hear it in, British accent, American accent, Indian accent, right? And once you learn a word, I would suggest a lot of them need to be said out loud by Google so you know what it sounds like. And sometimes
right.
Google doesn't have that feature. Good old YouTube. Just type it, say, let's say chrysalis is the word that you
Mm,
want to know how.
mm,
So say chrysalis pronunciation. Just write it in Google and there'll be like 10 videos or 10 shorts that you will find how to do it. In terms of MTI, right? How people feel like a foreign accent makes them feel better, makes them look better. I've seen a lot of people, sometimes from the south, sometimes from even Maharashtra, right? They say that I can feel my mother tongue sound in how I speak in English.
mm,
And because foreign languages are held up here, they feel like MTIs are supposed to be lower than the neutral level of English that is
mm.
available in India, especially with jobs. And I mean, I don't know if that is completely accurate or not. Maybe they have been rejected because of their MTI. I'm not sure. But
Mm,
I personally believe that MTI is not something that is a, a factor that determines how good you are at English, right? Again, just because you're speaking in a tone or like the see, you've been practicing your mother tongue for like 20, 30 years, and then you start I wouldn't say you start speaking English, but then you start getting better at English, right? So that basic foundation of how you talk, how your tongue rolls off, how your lips move when you're saying certain sounds will remain. But that doesn't mean your English is worse. Okay. So every time someone comes up to me and they complain about, having MTI or not having foreign accents, I keep telling them, listen, you're focusing on the wrong things. At this moment, you need to focus on the excellence of understanding and communicating in English. And then you can focus on your aesthetics later on. Uh, I do understand that there is this scare that if I have an MTI and I apply for a job in a different city or in a
mm.
different country, people might think that I'm from a village or I'm from like this suburban, sort of environment, right? But I keep telling them that, see, as long as your skill set is uh, polished and you're able to communicate that clearly through English, I don't think that should be an issue because if MTI was an issue, right, we would not see so many people excel in America. Like the tech industry is filled with Indians, right? Especially South Indians. So I see a lot of like, I mean, even if you look at Sundar Pichai's interview, he has an Indian afflection to him, right? Even though he's lived there for most of his life. So
Mm,
I keep giving these examples that just because you have an MTI, don't feel like you're lesser or you're not as qualified as the next person, right? So don't take that into consideration. Focus on what you're going to say, how you're going to say, right? Uh, how you're going to express your experience or your skill set when you're going to interviews. Right? And yeah, I think people should stop worrying about feeling bad for themselves. I don't know if that answers your question. I think it was a very long answer. Sorry about that.
That's okay because many people are conscious about it, right? MTI,
Hmm.
and people make fun of like if South Indians pronounce a word in a particular way. So they just tell, oh, okay, are you from Kerala because of their pronunciation, or are you from some place because of your Sir pronunciation? So there are a lot of people who want to improve that and get rid of that. So do you have any exercises or suggestions how they can work on that? I know from yeah, at a beginner level, you don't need it, but once you're into intermediate and you want to become an advanced speaker, so many people focus on that, the right pronunciation, getting rid of MTI. So are there any exercises you would like to suggest?
Um, I would say that this problem has so many permutations, so many variations, right? You'll see somebody struggle with a single pronunciation in a single region of India, right? I'm not going to
Right.
name them, but certain people have issues with the word, with the letter V, the pronunciation of V or W,
Mm,
right? So
mm,
instead of video, they will say video. This happens in Mumbai. S. Instead of station, they will say station, right? So there are too many of these variations. The people say incorrectly, or people will SH instead of SH, they will say S, right?
yes.
So they'll say instead of harsh, they'll say, yeah, it was very harsh, you know. So it sounds
Mm,
like an SE sort of,
mm, mm,
So one thing I would like to say is in these situations, it is important to be told that you have this issue because a lot of people feel that naturally that is what they sound like and they are comfortable. They're like, yeah, this is correct. Okay.
mm,
So if you're talking to other people and they tell you that, hey, this is what it's supposed to sound like, or this is the correction I'm giving you, then make sure you're using that because the first step of fixing an issue is identifying it. Okay. And the fact that you've been saying something incorrectly for so many years, you don't know it's a mistake, clearly, right?
mm,
Uh, maybe it was taught to you, maybe this is something that you heard around you all the time. Again, it's not a bad thing, you can fix it very easily. One exercise that I like to give people is when it comes to the V words, right?
mm,
One simple exercise I give them is I'll tell them to use words like window, video, visceral, you know, a lot of these V words, and I'll tell them to just say it out loud 5 times a day. So the exercise is go to ChatGPT, set
mm.
up a program saying I'll come, I'll visit this website every day. Please give me 5 words that sound that start with the sound V, which includes the letters V and W, right? So you can set up these prompts, and every day you go, you can say, hey, can I have my 5 words? And then they'll give you the 5 words, right? Once you get the 5 words, you can either write them down or you can copy it and put it in your digital notepad or whatever it is. If you want, you can go online and find the pronunciation of these words. And once you get it, just say these things out loud. Okay. I had a learner recently who couldn't differentiate the sound between J and G. Okay. So they would, mm, every time there was a J word, like Jaipur, they would say Jaipur, right? And they thought, yeah, this is correct. And thankfully, they found out from somewhere, someone told them, and they came and told me that, hey, I think this is an issue. Can you please verify that? So I went online. I found uh, a paragraph with J and G letters, like a lot of them,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So it's like Jay was from Jaipur and he wanted to buy a guild. He was making sure that he could, whatever. I'm not going to get into the paragraph, but the point was to test it. And I sent it to her and I said, can you please say this? Can you read this paragraph out loud? And I could
Okay.
notice that every time
Mm,
she was saying it, she was mixing it up. She was switching it, right? So if it said Jay was a good boy, she would say Jay was a good boy. No, she would say Zay was a good boy, right? So I didn't have enough time to correct her because it was towards the end of the session. But when she was narrating that story, I just raised my hand every time she made a mistake and I told her, go look at the recording. Every time I raised my hand is when you
Mhm.
made a mistake. Like, so instead of genius, she said genius. I still remember the words now. But anyway, so these are exercises that we do that let them know that it is very easy to solve it, right? And then it becomes like a tongue twister where it's like if she so basically for her, because she had these two issues, what I told her is to get five G letter words and five J letter words. And then I told her do this, right? Not just do one side.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
So that would test her, like it would basically put a filter in her mind that these are two different things. You cannot say these together, like they're not in the same category. So these are some exercises that I recommend. Again, when it comes to issues people are facing, it has to be sort of customized, like the exercise itself, right? Because
Mm.
some people may have a different issue that cannot be
Yes,
solved by this particular exercise. So I think, like I said, take it with a pinch of salt, but this is something that is very generalized. So if you are facing this issue, then this is an exercise you can try. And if not, then you can talk to someone who knows how to fix this or how to give
great.
you more exercises.
Thank you so much. So that ends the session. Questions from my end. If there is something you would like to ask, please go ahead. I don't
Right.
know
So
how
no,
much time we have
just
got.
yeah, we actually, I was just gonna say we only have a minute left,
Oh,
but I just wanted to know a little bit about your channel, what you do, how your community, communicates with you, honestly. Like, how is it through just comments? Do you guys have like a forum, email?
yeah. Basically, my channel revolves around conversations and other. I even do solo videos related to learning spoken English. So it's about a year and a half old. In October 2023, I started off. So it's been a year and a half. So I'm around 78K followers right now. Um, we communicate through comment section, and I also have my email ID where people can just mail me and request for conversations. So that's what I'm doing on my channel. Nothing other than that. I'm just on YouTube, not on any other social media. So that's about my channel.
Lovely. That's great. I mean, it's always nice to have a conversation with someone who has a lot of questions, because the last thing we would want is like this lull or this awkward silence in the conversation. So thanks for the questions. They were really interesting. And hopefully next time when we do meet, we can come up with some more questions, maybe talk about you a little bit more. Yeah.
Definitely. It's not every day that you get to talk to trainers or fluent speakers who are able to answer these questions precisely, right? So it
Hmm.
was a privilege talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. So you have a good day.
Thank you so much, man. The pleasure was all mine.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a nice day.
You too.